Miss Mary Thoeger's easy walk on the path of Gandhian rural upliftment work was facilitated by her birth and nurture in a farmer's family in Denmark. The rustic atmosphere at home and in her native village molded her for the service in rural areas in her later life. After finishing her education and training, she took to social work, teaching and writing, and this has been her life's mission for the last 60 years. As an ardent admirer and a true follower of Mahatma Gandhi and Vinoba Bhave, whose writing she has studied deeply, Ms. Mary Thoeger easily fitted into the Gandhian constructive movement.
At the age of 17, I went to a teacher's training college for 5 years. At the time when my training was finished, the great war against Nazi Germany had just come to an end. Everybody in Europe was looking for peace. How could we rebuild? How could we stabilize life? How could we create a new and peaceful world? This, our world, was Europe. So for the next 5 or 6 years, I was using my holidays in school in cleaning bricks from ruined houses in Germany, restoring fields for farming in Finland, and trying to settle displaced families in France and Bavaria. Then in the beginning of the 50s, American Quakers gave me an invitation to come to the USA and do reconstructive work for 3 months in a Red Indian reservation, together with a group of young Americans. In 1953, I joined a UNESCO course for people from Europe. We were to be trained for constructive work in the third world, as it was called at that time. Included in this course was adult literacy, which was my special field. In 1954, I saw Chavan for the first time. Late in the evening, I arrived from the station in a Tonga and met Marjorie Sykes with a lantern in her hand, inspecting the hostel for the girl students of basic education, which at that time was at its height. Years later, in 1960, Marjorie took me to a Sabodaya conference in Indore, where, among others, I met Sarla Devi from Kosani. At the end of the conference, I joined the historical pediatra of Vinoba Bhave. Sarla then brought me to Lakshmi Ashram, Kosani. Since then, I have used a lot of my spare time on speaking and writing about Gandhian work in the Himalayas and basic education in India. I was also introduced to Vinobaji, to his Buddhan movement by Sarla Ben, who used to tell about the non-violent power of this movement. Since then, I have been following the experiments with basic education in Lakshmi Ashram and elsewhere. In 1980, I was taken to Vinoba Niketan by Radhaben, and there we met Radhyama Ji, completely absorbed in her work with her many fountains, tribal girls and local problems. In spite of everything, she is still going on working with her tribal girls, health programs, and peace conferences. now assisted by some of her foundlings. With Lakshmi Ashram, I have been in close contact for more than 40 years. From Sela Devi to Radhabat to Pushpa Joshi to Nima Vaishnav. In 1966, a cooperative project started between the Danes and basic education and Gandhian thoughts in India. It was implemented by many visits of Indian Savodaya people to Danish folk high schools, to government schools, colleges, lions clubs, and peace groups. The message of Gandhi's non-violence and human values was communicated in the form of lectures, book writing, and cultural performances. I felt it was my duty to arrange this cooperation after having seen all the Gandhian work done by my friends in India. Luckily, one of my former students, who has followed the work for 20 years, accepted it as her duty to carry on the work. By now, she has already had the responsibility for 10 years, even the responsibility for bringing me here from Denmark. Through these 40 years, I have been writing fiction, non-fiction, and documentaries, especially used for children and young people in Danish government schools. My books have been placed in libraries and used in the educational system all over my country and also in other countries. Some of them were written together with my Indian friends. The theme of my writings has always been to make women and girls feel free and empowered by the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi. I got the inspiration for much of my writing while following the Kumaoni girls, going to work in the Balwadis, joining the tree plantation camps during the Chipko movement in Almora and Chamoli districts, sitting with hill women protesting against the liquor shops, accompanying the Savodaya workers of Uttaranchal who were fighting against the soapstone mining to save their mountains from destruction. Sometimes I felt walking with these Savodayas workers that our lives were at stake when we had to cross ice-cold rivers barefooted after darkness. The strong will of the Gandhians, reflected in my writings, might have inspired many of my own students and others who read my books. Besides the books, we also presented many slide shows and prepared audio cassettes about the simple daily life and the hard work of Gandhian institutions in India. Now I'm working on the autobiography of Sela Devi. First of all, I had to have it translated into English, and here my Indian friends have already done a great job. Now it's my duty to rewrite Sela's story in Danish, which I hope to finish before long. So my thanks are going again to the people behind the Jamnalal Bajaj Foundation for giving me this award, which also gives me the chance to meet so many well-known Saudi workers. Thank you very much.